A jury in the above-entitled case find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, as follows. Count 1, conspiracy to commit a crime. Guilty. Count 2, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Guilty.
Guilty. O.J. Simpson could spend the rest of his life behind. Let's get right to that verdict in the O.J. Simpson trial. NBC's Gina Kim joining us live now from Las Vegas. Gina, Simpson was led away last night in handcuffs. What happens next for the ex-football star?
Hey there, good morning, Jay. You know, first let me tell you that we just got word that there is a press conference happening at 1 o'clock our time, 1 o'clock Pacific time. And the press conference will be held by Thomas Riccio. He is O.J. Simpson's friend and the memorabilia dealer who actually arranged the entire meeting that got him into this scenario last year. So we'll wait to see what that press conference is all about. But yes, as you said, O.J. Simpson, he was taken away immediately after the verdict was read last night and transferred over to the Clark County Jail here in Las Vegas. It's actually 2 buildings behind me. He will stay there until December 5th, which is when his sentencing date has been set for. The judge said no bail. He cannot go back to his home in Florida in order to get his affairs in order. The hope is that he would have already done that. And once he is sentenced on December 5th, the usual protocol is that he will be transferred to one of the 2 major state prisons here in Nevada. And Jay, he will likely spend the rest of his life there because the minimum sentence that he faces is 15 years. The maximum is life.
Gina, something we haven't talked about a lot today is Simpson's sister. She was there for the verdict. She didn't take it all that well, did she?
No, absolutely not. It was very dramatic in the courtroom last night. You know, this verdict was read a little before 11 o'clock our time, so it was very late. It was a very exhausting day. And apparently, as Simpson was led away in handcuffs, she started sobbing. And then as he was exiting through the door, she apparently started wailing. And then once the spectators all left the courtroom, she absolutely collapsed in there. And so a lot of friends came to her support and so forth. But yeah, it was a very dramatic evening here last night.
All right, Gina, thanks for the update there from Las Vegas. This verdict comes 13 years to the day after O.J. Simpson, after his 4-week trial in Vegas. It comes 13 years to the day after he was acquitted in his murder trial of Ron Goldman and his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. He's now facing 15 years to life in prison on the set, as we've talked about. Joining me now is defense attorneys Rebecca Rose Woodland and Karen DeSoto. She's a defense attorney and former prosecutor. Ladies, you've been talking with us all morning about this. We appreciate that. O.J. was convicted on all 12 counts, including armed robbery and kidnapping. His defense was that he was going back to that Las Vegas hotel room just to get what was rightfully his. It was his stuff that he was going back to get. That alone is an admission of guilt in Nevada, right?
Correct, correct. In Nevada, you can't engage in self-help. The context that we usually hear about self-help is a landlord who's not allowed to lock a tenant out. That would be engaging in self-help, and that's usually how a lot of people understand it. So you're not allowed to go and retrieve your own items. You're not allowed to go and help yourself. You have got to call the police. So he basically has admitted to a crime. Therefore, everything that flows from that, jurors are not going to be likely at that point to say, okay, well, you're guilty of this one and you admitted that, but you didn't do that. But
so it was all or none for him basically going into the courtroom.
Well, you know, jurors are more likely to find all or nothing.
Sure.
They don't usually piecemeal. But unfortunately here we have the first-degree kidnapping, which is the most serious of all of these offenses, and the gun charges. Now, I don't think a lot of people do realize that with gun charge you have mandatory minimums.
Right.
So, you know, if you get caught on them, a lot of times even in federal court, you're going to do 80% of your time. So if you were in a state court and you got 10 years, you could do 5 years, but with gun mandatory minimums, you're going to be there for a little while.
Karen, let's talk a little bit about the sentencing and the possible appeal here, or the appeal that is coming. O.J. faces up to life in prison on this. His attorneys say that he will appeal on 4 or 5 issues, including the makeup of the jury racially. This is a procedure they have to go through legally to do what's best for their client.
Sure.
Do they have any strong basis for it?
You know, from what we have seen so far, no, I don't think so. Apparently, they interviewed 500 potential jurors, 250 of which were immediately discarded because they said outright, I'll be biased against O.J. The other 250, 26-page questionnaire. Really, I think it's going to be a big uphill battle for the defense, saying that they had an unfair jury. Yeah.
Let's, ladies, talk about the fact that O.J. did not take the stand in this case, which probably would have been difficult, but hindsight being 20/20, was that the right move here? Should he have taken the stand, or?
Well, Hindsight is always 20/20, like you say, Jay. However, he really did testify in a sense because you had the audio tape, which is what I do believe sunk him with the jurors, because it's almost like he sounded like a thug. However, you don't want to put O.J. up there because he has so much baggage, Jay. To impeach him and his credibility would be just, first of all, you would spend 3 days just cross-examining him on credibility issues.
Right.
And, hey, you have a double murder, and he may have been acquitted, but, you know, that may come in.
Did it make it easier for the prosecution, you believe, or did it even play into the prosecution's case?
Well, you know, the prosecution is prepared. They have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, no matter he takes the stand or not. And they had so much evidence. They had 4 of his co-conspirators who flipped on him. They had this audio tape, the videotapes of the surveillance. They had so much. It just probably would have been icing on the cake if O.J. came and sat down and tried to get himself out of this mess.
Ladies, thank you so much for filling in the blanks for us. We appreciate it.